our 1-to-X model here at Nuvola is the 1-to-1, but essentially on steroids. And what do I mean by that is utilizing our NVL token. Someone buys our NVL token on the open market, and then they stake it. And via the staking, they're going to get exposure to all our partnerships. What do I mean by that? So we have a treasury that we have allotted capital to, and we keep partnering with new protocols and expanding on the most profitable DePIN infrastructures out there. So when we first partnered with Iagon, our model was 1-to-1, where we invested into Iagon, and in return, our NVL stakers and holders received Iagon as a partial reward of our revenues. Now, shortly after that, we partnered with Orfax, and then Minutes, and then Kopi, and now World Mobile, and Zerberus as well. So now the 1-to-X model has 1-to-1 model has turned into a 1-to-6 model, where essentially with that same initial purchase of NVL, that holder will be getting exposure to 5 or 6 or 7 different revenue streams from our partnerships without having to have invested into each one individually for those operations.
What's up, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. My name's Fareed. As a part of today's video, I'm sitting down with Raul de Benedettis, the founder of the Nuvola Digital protocol, a staking platform here aiming to aggregate DePIN projects within and outside of Cardano. Now, this will be my second sit down with Raul. I'll leave the link to the first one down below. Without any further ado, let me bring up today's guest, Raul. Welcome up, man. How are you?
Fareed, I'm back. It's been a while, but we reconnected, and thanks for having me again. A lot of exciting things to talk about today.
It's my pleasure, and congrats first and foremost, right? You guys have been on fire here the past couple of months, and it's crazy, crazy, crazy how quickly you guys have been able to iterate, expand, and make new partners. So as a part of today's video, we're diving into your latest and biggest partners. We'll be talking about your 1-to-X model, the collateralization hub, which has recently been funded as a part of Project Catalyst funding round number 12. And then last but not least, I want to dive into what the future holds for Nuvola. Now, without any further ado, Raul, again, I'll leave the link to our first interview down below, but could you give us a quick elevator pitch about yourself and what Nuvola is?
Yeah, so if anyone who doesn't know who I am the CEO of Nuvola Digital, co-founder. To my co-founder, Syed Lenka. We've done some phenomenal things, but at heart, Nuvola is a DePIN aggregator, or we've even been coined the term a DePIN index as of late, where we essentially run DePIN operations on behalf of our NVL community. And we revenue share the revenue share models that a lot of the DePIN infrastructures have set in place. And with that being said, we also have 2 in-house products. One is C-Hub and one is Nuvola Drive, which we will also be discussing here today. But yeah, a little bit about myself. I come from a engineering background. I was in the aerospace, naval, and medical manufacturing industries for the last 13 years. I've been involved in crypto since 2008, preferably Cardano since 2018. And as of earlier this year, I finally took all my knowledge and my experiences, and I created Nuvola, and here we are today.
Yeah, you guys have had an amazing start, and I'm, again, looking forward to seeing what the future holds. So we'll dive into that probably towards the latter end of today's interview. That said, I mean, where do we begin? I think maybe just talking about Nuvola's evolution, right? I remember reaching out and connecting with you about 4 or 5 months ago. Since then, you guys have had your official token generation event, or your TGE, where we've seen, I want to say, over 50% of your supply being sold out into the public. And we've now have actually had the beginning of the 1-to-X model and the official launch of staking. Do you mind breaking down, what sort of the process has been like for you, and what the community can anticipate next in terms of immediate releases for Nuvola?
Yeah, so our evolution has been like almost surreal when I think back of where we started with the idea back in February, March with Syed and I. Not many people know this, but we originally started, we were just going to be in cloud storage and computing and really make Iagon a part of our massive operations, right? And we partnered with them early on, and we were just going to push forward, really just making them our only real operation to start. And then we saw the model kind of start to formalize as people were demanding more from different partnerships and whatnot. And that's essentially where the 1 to X model kind of started to evolve itself. And it all just kind of started to fall into place. But to see us start with just the initial thought of cloud storage and computing and Iagon, and then seeing how rapidly we've grown now, 3.5 months later, to have 6 partnerships, right? And 2 in-house products that are all going to be generating revenues back to our holders, and just further solidifying us as a respected entity within Cardano's walls, and then obviously stepping outside there as well. It's been incredible. I look back and I can't believe it was just April that we went live, and it's 3.5, 4 months later, and here we are. And just to see the model come into like such form has been like phenomenal.
Now, you keep on referring to the 1 to X model. Again, I know that there's probably a lot of new entrants here in the community. Can you quickly break down, what this is and how this is different, right, than some of the other DePIN specific projects that are out in the space? And again, how this sort of benefits the stakers as Nuvola expands their operations.
Yep. So the 1 to X model, before I explain that, I'll explain what a 1 to 1 model is, which is essentially if somebody was to run an operation for a DePIN protocol. Let's say that someone wants to run storage and compute for Iagon. They would have to purchase the IAG from the open market, and then upload or get the node up and running within the server, and then put the IAG within the node and operate it. No matter what they do, essentially, it's a 1 to 1, meaning they have to input capital to start the operation, and they're always going to receive in the same ratio back their rewards. Our 1 to X model here at Nuvola is the 1 to 1, but essentially on steroids. And what do I mean by that is utilizing our NVL token. Someone buys our NVL token on the open market, and then they stake it. And via the staking, they're going to get exposure to all our partnerships. What do I mean by that? So we have a treasury that we have allotted capital to, and we keep partnering with new protocols and expanding on the most profitable DePIN infrastructures out there. So when we first partnered with Iagon, our model was 1 to 1, where we invested into Iagon, and in return, our NVL stakers and holders received Iagon as a partial reward of our revenues. Now, shortly after that, we partnered with Orfax, and then Minutes, and then Kopi, and now World Mobile, and Zerberus as well. So now the 1 to X model 1 to 1 model has turned into a 1 to 6 model, where essentially with that same initial purchase of NVL, that holder will be getting exposure to 5 or 6 or 7 different revenue streams from our partnerships without having to have invested into each one individually for those operations. So in the 1 to 1, just to kind of summarize, somebody has to fund the operation and then receive the rewards. In our 1 to X, they purchase or fund an operation, quote unquote, via purchasing NVL token. And then our protocol just keeps utilizing the treasury to enhance more partnerships and thoroughly expanding the revenue streams coming back to that same holder. So they don't have to keep reinvesting to earn more. Essentially, we do that on the end for them.
And what I personally love about this approach and just this model is the fact that it allows for inclusion of people that may not necessarily be too tech savvy, right? So, and it doesn't even have to be that they're not tech savvy. It's just that people may not have the time to run or operate nodes. A lot of the work that goes into node operation goes into maintenance, making sure that the node is constantly up. That requires monitoring all around the clock, right? And so for somebody who's maybe a mom, a dad, whatever the case is, like they've already got a lot of other priorities, keeping up with crypto, Bitcoin, prices, all of that. But then in addition to that, also operating and monitoring a node takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So what, again, I love about this is the fact that people can now get exposure to DePIN and some of the node revenue from multiple DePIN projects without necessarily having to sit there and actually run the hardware itself. And that actually is going to segue me into another question here. Your operations have actually grown here. I just shared a screenshot, which is actually somewhat outdated because it doesn't include World Mobile. But can you maybe highlight very quickly, what the nodes are like for each project. So I know Igon was the very first one. You guys have several nodes currently running now, providing rewards. There's also, I believe, the Minutes network, and you guys have acquired nodes there. But like, can you quickly break down how many nodes have been allocated for which projects?
Yeah, so currently at the moment, I believe we have close to 30 different Igon nodes that are up and running. And then we have 110 Copy nodes, if I'm not mistaken. We are about 54 to 55 nodes for Minutes Network. And we have two validator nodes for OrcFacts out of 100. So we want to be careful there with OrcFacts because there is a very finite amount. If we obtain too many, it'll just start to centralize the system. So we don't want to do that, right? And then with Cerberus, I believe we're at 15, nearing 20, just about. So in total there, I think we're over 200 to 250 different nodes for these 5 partners you see here on screen. And then we'll soon reveal what our operations are going to be looking like with World Mobile, which was just announced yesterday. So we haven't had a chance to update the graphics as of yet. But yeah, in just 3 months, we're 200 plus nodes that are active. We are currently earning rewards from Copy and Iagon on a monthly basis. And then the other 3 or 4 have not been set live yet. So we haven't been earning as of yet. But once they do, those operations will be instantaneously live. And another thing that you mentioned from your segment before, where people at home might not have the resources. A lot of people don't know this, that it's not as easy as just operating a node. Nodes are rewarded based off their performance as well. So if you're connected to a small internet router at your house, you're likely not pumping out the highest performance for that node. So your rewards will essentially suffer. Now, there's a cost incurred to running these things, and you want to obviously maximize rewards. So here at Nuvola, with our infrastructure, we're currently renting servers from the top providers across the globe. We're spread across 4 or 5 different continents, about 9 to 10 countries. And we have all the highest performing equipment. So we're truly maximizing all our rewards there.
Yeah, and that's actually going to also segue into a couple of other points. From a visual standpoint, right, there's obviously a lot going on here as Nuvola expands. I think it'll be really helpful for anybody who's invested or who's a staker to be able to see where the nodes are, but then also which projects those support. If I'm not mistaken, you guys are currently working on a dashboard. Can you give us an update, about what you guys are planning to put there? I'm sure that you guys also be including statistics about node performance, how many, rewards each one has earned. But I'd love to hear, like, what is sort of your vision with this brand new and upcoming dashboard?
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually getting very, very close to releasing that. We're super excited about it because it's going to be all inclusive, essentially, where you don't have to go anywhere else but there. You're going to have all the tabs. But one of the tabs is going to be the main tab. It's going to be the homepage, essentially shows all our partners and the revenues we're generating with all the partners. We're going to make that public information. And then it's going to have 3 or 4 different gated tabs where you need to own NVL in order to essentially look within there. So in the second tab, you're going to see your personal staking rewards, what each partner is kicking out for you each month. There's going to be a claim button and also a collateralize button when the time comes for the collateralization hub, which is a whole separate conversation we'll have shortly. Another tab is going to be our global statistics. So our server performance, our uptimes, what countries we're located in, how much of each token is staked in each node. So they're really going to get the full scope of the operation. We're also going to be at some point including our running costs. We spoke about being the most transparent project out, and we want people to see what our margins are like as well. And then finally, there's going to be an assets under management tab which shows the treasury, how much NVL is in there, how much ADA valuation, how much IAG, MNT, Copy, all the tokens that we hold within the treasury and our operations are going to be displayed there as well. So one thing that I think people often overlook is that our project has its own token value, right, which creates our valuation and our market cap. But our token is actually backed by a bunch of 4 million Igon, 1.7 million MNT tokens, We're going to have a bunch of Copy. We have over 1 million OrcFax token and World Mobile and so on and all the other partners. So there's a firm backing of value to our own NVL token via the treasury, which makes us special because we can manage these assets well. And no matter what, there's a great foundation of finances essentially there for us to pull from, which I'm really excited about once things really start to turn into gear with all the rewards. But the dashboard is going to essentially display all of this. It's going to be super clear. It's very simplistic, which I happen to love. Last thing we wanted to do was have a bunch of graphs and charts and lines and numbers. It's very straight to the point. And then there's also going to be a button that's super easy if people want to click and delegate to our stake pool. 100% of those ADA rewards we actually kick back into furthering our operations. So that's another revenue stream that we're utilizing there to keep expanding. But the dashboard, quote unquote, we're looking at a couple short weeks until it's out. We're very, very excited about that.
You beat me to the next question, which was surrounding the timeline. Now that we got that out the way, I do think that transparency is huge. And of course, you guys are trying to be as transparent as quickly as possible. You mentioned potentially paywalling some information based off of whether or not you're staking. Do you mind breaking down how people can stake if they're interested in joining the Nuvola community, and exactly what they earn by staking versus just holding the Nuvola token without actually staking?
Yeah, so essentially the NVL token has one utility and one utility only, and that is to be staked. That is how you gain access to all the revenue streams that Nuvola is tapped into from its operations. Simply holding the token does nothing. If you're a trader out there, you want to swing trade, knock yourself out. But if you want to essentially accrue or start to accrue the passive income potential, the tokens will need to be staked. Now, one thing I love about our protocol, and I built it this way intentionally, is it's liquid staking, meaning there's no lock periods. You can stake 20 minutes later, you can unstake, your tokens will be right in your wallet. But there is a 2-week warm-up period for your stake, meaning you have to stake for 2 weeks minimum for your stake to actually start to get solidified. You're still going to be earning for the first 14 days, but if you unstake within those 14 days, you lose the entire stake. We're doing that to just prevent a bunch of unnecessary transactions in our system. We just want to keep it very clean. And the majority of our investors and holders, believe it or not, I take pride in my community. We have some of the strongest long-term conviction that I've seen in crypto in a long time. So that 2-week warm-up period is there simply just to kind of kill any unnecessary transactions. But yeah, just simply staking NVL. Also, another thing with NVL, our token, there is zero dilution or emissions, and that's because we do not pay any staking rewards within our own token. Everything is paid out in our partner token. That's how they design their protocols to pay out in IAG, MNT, Copy, and such. So our NVL token essentially does not face any kind of dilution from any reward payouts in that manner.
Thank you. And I just want to quickly highlight this. You were talking about transparency just a moment ago. Let me get this up on screen. So for anybody who just wants to keep track of all of the different assets that Nuvola is currently in charge or is currently managing, the team does have an integration with ADA Handle. So if you guys want to check out any of the extra wallets right now, go ahead, take a break here. You can pause this and you can check this out on any of the biggest Cardano explorers here. So whether that's Cardano Scan, C Explorer, the official Cardano Foundation Explorer Beta, you can just type in the ADA Handle here and that should pull up the specific wallet addresses. Okay, Raul, we've, I think, sort of laid down the foundation. I think like that was the warm up here, right? Sort of the refresher. Let's jump into the new stuff now. Let's jump into the exciting stuff. So yesterday I was scrolling, and this actually starts a little bit further back. About a week ago, I was scrolling on Twitter and I saw a picture of you, Mickey, and his brother Josh, who operates or who now runs the Minutes Network. Now, I should have realized back then that something was brewing, right? It's not just every day that somebody's able to get a hold of somebody like Mickey and his brother at the same exact time. That said, we got some pretty big news yesterday. We've got World Mobile officially partnering up with Nuvola. Now, for anybody who isn't aware of World Mobile, I cover them here pretty greatly here on the channel. Their goal is to aim to connect the unconnected, providing connectivity and internet data packages all around the globe. We've seen already, I want to say, 1,500 air nodes deployed all between Zanzibar, Pakistan, and most recently Reno, Nevada. And we just got wind that we're now getting a second batch of air nodes for anybody who wants to contribute to their DePIN infrastructure. So that's sort of like the groundwork there. Can you maybe highlight, what your trip was like out there, your experience meeting Mickey and Josh, and then how you guys came to striking such a big partnership here?
Yeah, so just backdating a little bit into how I came to be in that situation. Nuvola really got behind Josh and Minutes Network. We believed in him. The second I read, I saw his website and I understood the product and the industry they were in. Syed and I had this like light bulb moment, and it was like, this could potentially be one of the biggest companies ever in crypto, outside of crypto, because they're revolutionizing the telecommunications industry, and they're essentially cutting out a bunch of middlemen. They're saving their partner, these telecommunications company, a bunch of money simply by having this proprietary technology that they've developed in place. So when we saw the potential there, we immediately said we need to invest a good portion of our capital into these operations, be early. They're very professional. They have some industry leaders as advisors. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us. And Josh saw our conviction and how we came in and said, hey, we want to be a partner. We want to back you guys. We want to be part of this operation, this movement. And immediately you could just tell his respect grew for us, right? Just how we came in. And that was our first OTC. Then we came in with a second deal because we obviously ran some numbers and saw the potential of the markets. And that's when he was kind of like sold on us. He said, all right, these guys are about their business. So that kind of started our relationship a few months back. And over the last few months, we've always been in touch every single week, new advancements, just questions that were answered from both sides, how we could be of assistance, hey, Josh, I came across this information, like, what does this mean? And we kind of started to grow closer. And the last few weeks, he said, we were on call discussing some of the node operations. And he was like, I really like you guys. I love the conviction. I love the professionalism. You guys are building something special. And he's like, let me see if I can get you in touch with Mickey. And I was like, okay, that's an honor if you could do that, obviously. And he's like, oh, that's my brother. Don't worry about it. So we kind of let it simmer for a couple weeks. And then I was in Italy this past month in July visiting family. And Josh is in Spain, and so is Mickey. So he said, hey, man, let's get you out here. Mickey's in town, and let's just all sit down and talk and see what we could do. And they flew me in. I stayed there 2-3 days, and we discussed some very big things that I can't really disclose. But it was surprising and humbling to see how much Mickey knew about us in general. He loved our model. He saw, essentially what we presented. He already knew our involvement with Josh and Minutes, and he said, hey, man, there's something here. Let's solidify it. He met Syed in the past. He had a lot of respect for him too. And we kind of shook on it and said, there's a partnership that's been solidified here. And we don't plan to purchase a set amount of nodes with them. They're going to have multiple rollouts in multiple countries. We're starting in this first batch for us that's coming up in about a week or so. That's going to be our starting point. And then they have another sale coming up for their Pakistan release, which we are going to be heavily going into that one. We'll be better prepared. This first one here was a little bit kind of on short notice timing for us. But for the Pakistan one, which I believe he said was about 12 to 16 weeks out, we're going to be definitely heavily invested in that one. And yeah, that's essentially how that came to be. And I now have partnered with the Watkins brothers, which is, I think, honorable for us to just be able to say that,
Yeah, I mean, again, how quickly you've been able to get Nuvola associated and connected with some of the biggest players here in the ecosystem has been very impressive. I mentioned this off air earlier when we were just kind of having a nice chat. Cornucopias, I think, is 40,000 strong, by far the biggest gaming project here in Cardano. World Mobile, by far the leader here in just how exceptionally well they operate, right? Like I said, just watching their network grow myself as a creator. When I first started covering them, they had, I think, 200 some air nodes, very, very young. And to have seen them deploy over 1,200 air nodes in the last year alone, with World Mobile launching their first ever aerostat in Mozambique, them finally releasing their eSIMs in over 50 separate countries. I'm just like, these guys are on it. And so to have had the time to sit down with Mickey, really hash it out with him, like he's by far one of the nicest founders here within this space. Quick little tangent here. He and I were at Rare Evo last year. We shot a 45-minute interview. My camera died about halfway through. This guy was nice enough to sit down and reshoot the second half with me on the spot without hesitation. Like I told him, I was so bummed out, like my camera died. And I'm like, Mickey, we've been talking for the last 25 minutes. None of it's on camera. This guy was like, no worries, run it back. And we ran it back right then and there, So when he did that, I was like, okay, this guy's genuine. And this guy really cares about the people here. Because again, I don't have the biggest YouTube channel, but he understood that like, hey, I'm trying to help out where I can. And that really resonated with me. So I've actually got an interview coming up here with Josh from the Minutes Network over the next 24 to 48 hours. I'll be providing more coverage on his channel, or on his project, excuse me, here on my channel moving forward. And really, again, trying to stay in tune with some of these bigger DePIN protocols, because I do think that that's the future, in that there's a huge market share opportunity, right, for them, but then also for platforms like Nuvola, which really make it easy for anybody else who wants to tag along with that technical know-how to also be able to enjoy the ride. When it comes to World Mobile, though, I know things are still relatively early and they like to keep things very, very tight. Can you give us any numbers about, what you guys are able to invest in for batch number 2? I know that there's the Apex nodes, which are a lot bigger. So there's less of those available. I think they run about $16,000 a piece. But then there's also the Link nodes, which are a lot smaller, which I think go for about 700 a piece. And those a little bit more accessible, right? So I think there's going to be upwards of about 600 of those. Anything that you can give us to sort of help us better understand your commitment or your partnership with World Mobile at this early stage?
Yeah, we've definitely reflected a lot of interest in the Apexes for sure, and then links as well for this batch. But for the Pakistan one, which is coming, I think that's going to be where we really strong arm and kind of step in our usual style, where we really put our money where our mouth is and start to get operations going. As far as the quantity for each sale, we haven't solidified those numbers as of yet. But we are definitely looking to walk away with at least an Apex and a couple air nodes from this first batch here. But again, for the Pakistan one, you're going to really see our presence come in there. We've been pretty blessed. Our treasury has grown to be very strong over the last few months. So we are definitely starting to tap into it strategically and utilize it properly there. But with the quantity, and I was asked this once we announced the partnership, what's our set goal for the quantity of nodes with World Mobile? There is none. We're in a pure accumulation mode because their model, essentially, there's no cap on the amount of nodes. They're just going to deploy in new regions and new areas. So there's always going to be more nodes up for grabs. And we are positioning ourselves to be one of their biggest operators. I don't take the word partnership lightly. It's not just a word to me. So when I looked him in his face and we shook on it, Josh and Mickey are men of honor. We shook like men. We looked each other in the eyes and said, we're going to back each other. We're going to do what we got to do. I'm going to step in proper and make sure that our presence is felt, and wherever they need assistance and backup, we're there. And we're one of the first in line to essentially, be on the front lines with them. So there's no set amount. It's just pure accumulation mode.
Personally, what I love about this is, again, you were talking about transparency in your upcoming dashboard. This is exactly what the World Mobile team has done, right? So I sort of drilled in here on just one particular area. And this is impressive how quickly this team has grown. And so to hear, and if I just zoom out here, let me just back out here just to show the audience. Look at how much space is not connected, right? Yeah. I know a lot of times we focus in on what is connected, but look at the negative space. the opportunity here is massive. And so to take a look here and to be able to see everything in real time, how much each of these air nodes are currently providing in terms of revenue is what we need. And it sounds like you guys will be providing something very similar here for all of the operations for Nuvola. And so I think we've sort of talked a little bit about World Mobile here. Anything you want to close us off with in terms of expectations for the future, or what just maybe your experience has been like so far dealing with the World Mobile team?
They are top notch. I'm not gonna lie, I don't usually get butterflies meeting people, but when I met Mickey, I kind of was like, wow, I'm in the presence of a big mind here, and I thoroughly see the vision and just what you put into perspective with the amount of coverage that's currently live today. It's going to be 10, 20, 30 fold by next year, and it's going to keep growing exponentially. And there's still so much of the world to connect. The potential here is absolutely massive, massive. And running in parallel with Minutes Network, they go hand in hand. It's like the perfect 1-2 punch that they're providing. And like I said, we're blessed and honored to be, at their side to run in parallel with them and help wherever we can.
Nicely stated. I think that we'll wrap it up there for that piece there. Again, congrats on your latest partnership. Maybe we just do a quick run through. I mean, I don't think we've really spoken in depth about like the Cornucopias partnership. I know OrcFax was onboarded since our last chat, and I think there might be one more that I'm also missing, Cerberus. I know we've already gone 30 minutes. I'm going to ask you to try to keep this quick.
I'm here all night, man. We could do whatever. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, how have those gone? Again, it just seems like every 2 to 3 weeks has been a new partnership. Can you give us a quick update on, how Cornucopias and how, that one came to be? Again, Cerberus with Simon, Noah. There's one more that's escaping my mind. OrcFax and Peter.
So with Copy, that one kind of naturally came to be pretty effortlessly. As soon as we announced Iagon and we went live, the Corn Mafia flooded our Discord, and they were the most loud and in-your-face people. Respectfully, I loved it. Yeah, I really have to respect the energy they brought, and so it was a natural partnership that was just going to happen. Copy is one of the OGs of Cardano, right? They've been there, they've withstood the test of time, and they're delivering. So when it came to our operations with them, we have an initial target of about 250 nodes that we are looking to operate for them. 110 of them we've acquired already. The rest, so our partnership or our deal that we essentially discussed with Josh and Copy was, we also want to provide a white glove service where if there's any part of the world that there's a little bit of game lag or some downtime where they need more server presence for their file nodes, we're essentially going to deploy in that area. So we didn't want to jump in too heavy and kind of just already have most of the operations that we had intentionally set aside set. We can still deploy more, but it's going to be based on their need. And I think that's kind of like the strategic way of how we worked out that partnership, where you never know, game lag, it happens all the time. So if they're, oh man, listen, South America, we need some presence. We can essentially deploy and make it an easier experience for those users there. That's pretty much how that one went. Will we stop at 250 nodes? I don't think so. That's essentially just our starting point. I believe their total node count is 20,000. So there's quite a good amount of operations that we can still acquire there on that end with Copy. OrcFax was another good one. I spoke to Vlad. We essentially, it's Vahid. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
We'll cut that out in post.
Yeah. For OrcFax, I spoke to Vahid, and it's essentially not technically a formal partnership, right? And I say that because the nodes are public and anyone can essentially be a validator for them. So they wanted to just make sure that if it was a partnership announcement, it would have to be more of a synergistic kind of agreement of like services between us that we can both benefit from. So while we do consider them quote unquote a partner, by technicality, they are not a partner. And that was by design. But we do have 2 nodes for them. And it's 2 out of 100. So again, we have to be kind of careful there to make sure that we don't acquire too many nodes, because then the validators get centralized, and it's, a single point of failure starts to become a thing. So we might acquire maybe 1 or 2 more, but more than 5 is very unlikely. Then, wow, man, I'm losing track. We're getting so many
Cerberus. You see what I'm saying? That's the
Yeah.
same issue I was having earlier. So,
This is a
Cerberus, I think,
good
is a lot.
problem to have, right?
It sure is.
Yeah. So also we partnered with Cerberus. We grabbed about 10 to 15 nodes there, and I think over there's about 780 total nodes. So we got still quite a ways that we're going to be acquiring slowly. But I really like what they're doing with, really solidifying a project's reputation, trying to get, scores and ratings out there to make sure that people are well informed on who's who in the space. And I've had quite a few good phone calls with the doctor over on their team there. So that's that. And then we have, let's see, we discussed World Mobile. Then we have Iagon, which is our first partner out the gate, right? Great relationship there that we have with Navjit and team. Believe it or not, we're actually not done acquiring our IAG operations either. I say that because of Nuvola Drive. We will need a good substantial amount of storage to meet that demand that we foresee coming in for that. And we also want to keep helping Iagon's network expand. So we are looking to keep acquiring IAG in the short, mid to long term, and keep helping them expand as they go. A lot of exciting developments there. But Nuvola Drive was specifically designed to have Iagon storage as the back end. So it's going to be really exciting to have that come to life in the next month or 2 as well. We're making great progress there. And then I believe that should be everybody.
Yeah,
Right?
that is. That was a long list, but I think it was good. Nice little recap, and even for me, helps me to stay sharp about everything that's going on. You just mentioned Nuvola Drive. I think that's a really good segue into that here for today's update. For anybody who hasn't seen Nuvola Drive, can you explain what it is, how it's using Iagon's tech, and again, what the sort of hope is for this, and how this ties back into the first offering of Nuvola?
Yeah, so Nuvola Drive is essentially our storage mobile and desktop app. Now, one thing with the storage game, Google Drive kind of runs everything, right? When you really think about it, they've been around. But the that whole sector has been almost so like boring and old that there hasn't been much of any innovation within that sector. So Nuvola Drive, we're essentially bringing decentralized storage on the back end from Iagon, and bringing forth a very beautiful UI with cool features. There's going to be some AI integration into it. We're currently testing some models in place that we think we could have some actual, like, maybe first to market features with that as well. But essentially, it's a decentralized storage app. Right now, everything's pretty centralized, right? Google Drive kind of, they could look at what you're storing. It's very, there's no privacy there essentially. So with Iagon powering our backends, privacy, encryption, decentralization are put at the forefront. So people have that ease of mind knowing no one's seeing what I'm, storing here. It's completely mine. We're not reselling data like all these big conglomerate companies do. So I think it's going to be a home run hit for us. And, we have a very sleek UI. Again, a lot of cool features going to come out. Syed can speak very deeply on how the features work. This was kind of a creation of his that he had been working on for quite some time. And Nuvola essentially has become the vehicle to bring this out into the world with. So, but essentially it's going to be one of the most decentralized storage mobile apps that's ever come to be. And we're also working an enterprise level solution for the bigger companies that want to essentially start to tap into, a more decentralized and more private solution for storage.
One thing I have to ask here is, and this is something that I've seen sort of kind of floating when it comes to the conversation around Nuvola Drive, is that if it's already using Iagon tech and Iagon's developed a solution for storage, how is this different from what Igon already has out there?
So I'm not too sure, and forgive me if if I haven't been paying attention to that degree, but I'm not sure if Igon actually has a mobile storage app that they have been working on. If they have, I haven't been fully aware of it. I know I kind of tend to live in my own bubble with Nuvola. Sometimes I do. But we presented this to Navjit months ago when we first partnered with them, and he gave us the full green light. And essentially, even if they do come up with their own mobile storage solution, it could be different. It might have different features. It might, in our eyes, Nuvola Drive, the storage app side is one aspect of it. We're thinking of integrating some AI commands that are going to essentially make it more of a customized app that also does storage. Because storage can be pretty straightforward, right? There's not too much to it, but we're looking to really get a more inclusive app without giving away too much there. But if they do come out with something, I mean, I don't know if that would make us competitors. I mean, at the end of the day, we use their back end. So we are essentially becoming a customer and a service provider to them as well. So it's a win-win for both sides there. But they've been in close talks with us regarding its development, and there has been no kind of obstacles, no friction there. It's been just full green lights from them. So they're very excited about it, just like we are.
Yeah, and it seems like their focus lately has been a lot on hardware. Taking a look at the Nuvola, not Nuvola, the Iagon Twitter, they've been teasing out Cyclone, a piece of hardware to allow for anybody to sort of tap in and to provide storage on that end. So again, I think there's a lot of different angles to tap into it. Of course, they've already got a web version or web browser version. Sounds like with what you guys are developing, that'll be focusing more on mobile as they now begin to shift a little bit towards physical hardware. All right. Anything that you want to add or close us off with when it comes to Nuvola Drive?
No, I think we covered quite a bit. Timeline, I think about another 45 to 60 days, we should see a very firm product in the public's hands.
Thank you. All right. As we get ready to sort of wind things down here, one thing we've got to talk about is Project Catalyst in your recent collateralization hub proposal, which was funded. Congrats on that. The fact that you guys were able to come out here and swing for the first time and get it, I mean, that was very impressive. I've been keeping up with Catalyst, I would say, for about the last 4 or 5 rounds, like a little bit more closely. And what I noticed was a lot of projects weren't able to get funding, especially when it had just kicked back up after like a 1-year hiatus, right? Because there was a lot of people, a lot of proposals, and if you weren't a big team, you weren't getting funding. So to see you guys partnering up with Ada Anvil, Cash, I'll be having him here on the channel very soon, was really awesome to see. But then I like the idea. You actually came on the channel, I want to say at least twice to discuss it. So I'll leave the links to the actual proposal down below. But can you talk about, timeline progress and just what has happened so far since being onboarded as a part of this latest funding round?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, thank you to everyone and anyone who helped us with that vote and helped us land that. It really helped speed up the timeline. We were going to keep building regardless, even if we didn't get funded, but this definitely cut the timeline down quite a bit on our development. But essentially, we sat with Cardano Foundation. We, helped them understand the idea, and they really got behind us, and they saw the immediate real-world use case for it. So in summary, it's a collateralization hub. It's going to start on Cardano, where anyone who has locked staking rewards of sorts that are accruing, they could take their ADA value or their currency value, collateralize them, and then sell them to someone else, or take a loan or lend and borrow and such things. And whoever has that voucher or NFT of the collateralized asset can later redeem it once those assets are unlocked, and they could redeem it for its value. So it's essentially creating a secondary market for locked liquidity, and people can speculate and trade all sets. So that was within Cardano. Now, we also kind of went into the real world and said, where are these other illiquid kind of settings? And airline miles, loyalty points at sports clubs, credit card points. And the more research we did, it was astounding what we found, right? Airlines alone, $27 billion a year in lost airline miles and canceled flight credits that just go to waste, right? When it comes to loyalty point systems, $100 billion a year, billion with a B, per year of unused loyalty points across a series of different sports industries, right? Credit card points in the multiple billions yet again. So there's a ton of locked and lost liquidity within the real world where essentially C Hub can step in, and we're stepping in and we're going to provide the solution where free, let's say you have, $5,000 worth of flight credits or airline miles for the year of 2024. And those are going to expire by January 1st, 2025. But there's no way in hell you're going to fly to 6 different countries and exhaust all $5,000 worth, right? You could go on C Hub, collateralize it, and essentially put it on an open market where someone like myself can come in and say, wow, those airline points can get me to all these destinations for work. He's selling a $5,000 value worth of points for $4,000. I'll take him up on it. And I could either redeem the points and take the flights, or I can resell it, upsell it for $4,500 and try to make money. So it essentially creates a secondary market where all this trapped liquidity is now getting, redispersed across more people that can actually use it. And the beautiful thing of it all is the companies make money, the customers make money, and then we make money at C Hub. But in the latest tweet that we put out regarding C Hub, introductions and conversations have started with several airlines and sports clubs. And I will say a little tiny piece of alpha is that our pitch deck was recently requested by one. So there's interest that's already brewing. There's a lot of money to be made on the table with that. And the best part of it all is I will verbally soft launch this is we still have to figure out the numbers and, the expenses and the profit margins and everything. But NVL holders will be getting a portion of those profits from C Hub when it does come to formalize. So it's going to be very exciting for everybody involved.
So an additional revenue stream for the NVN token holders or NVN token stakers. Yeah,
and Nuvola Drive. I don't think I mentioned earlier, but also Nuvola Drive. A portion of those profits will also come back to NVL holders. So that puts the model at 1 to 8, I believe now, as far as revenue streams. So 8 different revenue stream potentials for NVL stakers there.
Yeah, that's huge. And I actually meant to ask earlier, my brain's all over the place right now, about whether or not Nuvola Drive would be a paid product or, sort of how the pricing would work on that. I think just generally speaking, though, to hear about the traction within and outside for the C Hub is huge, right? Obviously, I think a lot of people are familiar with collateralization within the crypto space, but to be getting interest from other people outside the community, I think that's where real adoption comes in. And that's where I think Nuvola could really begin to see some exponential growth, right? Because as they come in through that door, they might not be aware of everything else that Nuvola is doing, i.e., partnering with Minutes, World Mobile, etc. And as they now have that introduction, they could potentially also now bring in their capital to continue funding, right? Exactly. The ongoing operation. So from a opportunity perspective, I mean, this is huge. And so, yeah, I'm excited for you, the Ada Anvil team. I know they've been doing a lot of hard work here. One of the early staking platforms to launch in Cardano. Now, that said, Raul, we've been going for about 50 minutes now. A lot to sort of digest here for the community. I definitely look forward to getting you back on here for an additional part as you guys grow out. But let's not, overwhelm the community with too much. Let's definitely leave some, to the mind here, to the imagination. As we get ready to wind out, is there any alpha you want to share with us? Any teasers or just any parting thoughts that you might want to talk about that we didn't get the chance to hit on yet?
I will say this is we are not done growing within our current operations as of yet. There's a lot more to be announced in the short term. So, yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think that the track record shows that you're good for it, right? And obviously that includes Saeed and the rest of the team. You guys have been doing an amazing job here. So I think that will bring us to the end here. Ladies and gentlemen, Raul de Benedette is co-founder of the Nuvola DePIN aggregator protocol here, launched on Cardano. If you guys have any questions about anything we've discussed today, whether that's their evolution, their 1-to-X model, their tokenomics, everything discussed here, check the description out down below in order to get in touch with him. And then, of course, make sure to jump into their Discord in order to stay engaged and updated as to the latest updates for Nuvola. That'll do it here for today's video. Again, I appreciate you guys sticking with me all the way through. If you found any portion of today's video to be helpful, insightful, if you just learned anything along the way, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. One of the easiest ways here to support me as a content creator. Not only does it help to get this content out to other members within Cardano, it also helps to get this content out to the masses outside the ecosystem in order to get new blood or new members in the community. If you guys want more content just like this, definitely consider subscribing to Dapp Central. I aim to provide you guys with daily content here with some of the biggest minds here, just like Nuvola. And last but not least, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns for Raul or myself about the Nuvola protocol or just anything else going on in Cardano, make sure to leave those down below. That said, and as always, we'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers, everybody.